Today's topic is carbohydrate. So the carbohydrate is the second chapter of the nutrition subject. So in this video we will see about what is the definition of carbohydrate, what is the chemical compositions of carbohydrate, what are the dietary sources of carbohydrate. Moreover, we will see about the different functions of carbohydrate, like why the carbohydrates are necessary for our body, as well as if there is a deficiency of carbohydrate in our body, what all are the consequences occur in our body. Okay, so let's start with the introduction first. So carbohydrates are macronutrients. Okay, as we have discussed, there are two types of nutrients in the nutrition: micronutrient and macronutrients. So carbohydrate is one of the macronutrients. Macronutrients are involving like carbohydrate, proteins and fats. Whereas in the micronutrients, there are two nutrients are present like vitamins and the minerals. So carbohydrate is one of the macronutrients. So why they have mentioned the macronutrient over here? Because we are having carbohydrate in a major portion in our diet. Whenever we are eating any kind of meal, either it will be the lunch, breakfast or dinner, so in the major portion of the food is in the carbohydrate. Carbohydrates are cheapest and main source of energy. Okay, so if you are having the carbohydrate rich food, you will get the energy. Okay, so if you will eat 1 gram of carbohydrate, you will get 4 kilocalorie. So the calorie is one of the form of energy. Yes, so carbohydrate food is providing energy to our body. So a minimum or a major portion of the carbohydrate rich food will give you a maximum energy. Carbohydrate normally should provide 50 to 60% total calorie requirement. Okay, so you can see over here. So from the 100% of calorie requirement, the portion of 50 to 60% of the energy, or we can say the calorie that we are getting from the carbohydrate. Clear? From 100%, 50 to 60% calorie, or we can say the energy, should be provided by the carbohydrate rich food. So that's why they have mentioned over here that it is providing 50 to 60% energy or calorie per the day. For the normal day-to-day functioning, the sufficient amount of energy, that is the 50 to 60% that we are getting from the carbohydrate rich food. Moreover, carbohydrates also provide flavor and texture in many foods. Okay, so if you are eating the carbohydrate, you will get the texture and flavor in the food. Okay, so if we are having the potatoes, okay, potatoes are the rich source of carbohydrate because it is containing the starch. Yes, and starch is one of the type of carbohydrate. So the potatoes, they are providing different kind of textures in any kind of food, and moreover they are adding flavors to the food also. So this is about the introduction of carbohydrate. It is a macronutrients. Why? Because we are eating carbohydrate in a major amount, so that's why it is a macronutrients. It is one of the cheapest and major source of energy. If you are eating 1 gram of carbohydrate, you will get 4 kilocalorie. If you are having the carbohydrate rich food, 50 to 60% of your calorie requirement should be fulfilled by that food, and carbohydrate is providing flavor as well as texture to the food. Next is the definition of carbohydrate. So, carbohydrates are organic compounds made up of the carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, and form the major components of most of the plants and plays an important role in a nutrition. Okay, so here they have mentioned like the compositions of carbohydrates. So carbohydrate is made up of three things: carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, there are chemical compositions of carbohydrate. So carbohydrate is made up of three substances, that is a carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, and it is form the major components of all the plants. Okay, so from all the vegetarian sources, from most of the plants, it is containing the carbohydrate, and the carbohydrate is playing an important role in the nutrition. Okay, so to remember this definition in very easy manner, you need to divide the definition into the three areas. First, it is made up of a carbon and hydrogen. It is form a major component of the plants and it play an important role in the nutrition. Okay, so it is made up of a carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. It is vital and it is forming major portion of plants. And third thing, it is very essential, it is very important, playing role in a nutrition. Next is the composition of carbohydrate. So as we have discussed in the definition of carbohydrate, like carbohydrate is made up of a carbon atom, the hydrogen and the oxygen. Okay, so carbohydrate is made up of three things like carbohydrates. Carbo, that is carbon, O, that means oxygen, and hydra, that means hydrogen. Okay, the name suggests carbohydrate, that is involving three substances: carbs, that means carbon, O, that means oxygen, and hydra, that means hydrogen. Okay, so it is made up of three components, three substances, that is the carbon, hydrogen and the oxygen. Here they have mentioned the formula of carbohydrate. So that is CnH2nOn. Okay, where C denotes to carbon atoms, H denotes for hydrogen atoms, and O is for oxygen. Okay, so the formula, chemical formula of carbohydrate is CnH2nOn. Now we'll see the calorie value of carbohydrate. Okay, so each gram of carbohydrate will give you 4 kilocalorie, and 4 kilocalorie is equal to 17 kilojoule. Okay, so if you are eating 1 gram of carbohydrate, you will get 4 kilocalorie, and kilocalorie is what? It is energy. Okay, if you are having 2 grams of carbohydrate, you will get 8 kilocalorie. Okay, so that's why you need to multiply the things. If you are eating 1 gram, you will get 4 kilocalorie. If you are eating 2 grams of carbohydrate, you will get 8 kilocalorie. If you are eating 3 grams of carbohydrate, you will get like that 12 grams of kilocalorie. So like that you need to calculate the calorie requirement by the carbohydrate. So here they have mentioned the examples as well, like a teaspoon of sugar, which is 5 grams, give how much kilocalorie. Okay, so if you are having the 5 grams of sugar, how much calorie you will gain by that? Okay, so you need to multiply 5 into 4 kilocalorie, so that is 20 kilocalorie. Okay, so here is 20 kilocalorie energy you will get if you are having 5 grams of sugar. Either you are having sugar in tea, in a coffee, in a processed milk, in a sweets. So the 5 grams of sugar will give you 20 kilocalorie. Okay, so this is the example, or we can say the calorie value of carbohydrate. Now RDA of carbohydrate. RDA, that means recommended dietary allowances. Recommended dietary allowances, which means in a day how much adequate amount of carbohydrate you should take to function your body normally. Okay, so the normal recommended dietary allowances for the carbohydrate is 130 grams per day. So any adult male and female should take 130 grams of carbohydrate in a day to run their body in a normal functioning. That's the minimum amount of a glucose needed by the brain. So if you are eating this 130 grams of carbohydrate, and carbohydrate is one of the sugar content, okay, and sugar is what? That is glucose. Okay, so that glucose, that 130 grams of glucose is very necessary for the normal functioning of the brain. Okay, so if you are not having the sugar, if you are not having the carbohydrate rich food, if there is a deficiency of carbohydrate in your body, then what happens? You will feel the giddiness, you will feel the vertigo. Okay, so your brain will not function normally if there is a less sugar in your body. Okay, so for making a brain alert, to make a brain functioning very normally, we should keep in our mind to have the sufficient amount of carbohydrate in a day, and that is 130 gram per day. 60 to 80% of day's energy need are made from the carbohydrate. Okay, so in the meal we are eating various kind of food, and that foods are containing various kind of nutrients like carbohydrate, fats, protein, vitamins and minerals. So from each of the nutrients, from the carbohydrate we are getting 60 to 80% of day's energy. Okay, whatever day to day activity we are performing on a daily basis, so to perform those activities, to perform that physical work, the amount of energy we are getting from the carbohydrate, that is 60 to 80%, and that is the major portion, right? The amount of energy we are getting from any nutrients compared to others, the carbohydrate is giving us lots of energy for performing day to day life activity. So that is the recommended dietary allowances of carbohydrate. So to run your body normally, to have the normal functioning of your body as well as your brain, you need to have 130 grams of carbohydrate per day. Next we will see about the classification of carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are classified into the various types, and each are having the different kind of characteristics, or we can say the function. So let us see what all are the types of carbohydrate. So this is a diagram of the carbohydrate. So carbohydrate is divided into the two types first, like simple carbohydrate and complex carbohydrate. The simple carbohydrate is moreover divided into the three types, that is the monosaccharides, disaccharides and the oligosaccharides. Okay, there are two types of carbohydrates, simple and the complex. Simple are divided into three types like monosaccharides, disaccharides and oligosaccharides. The complex carbohydrate are having one type, that is a polysaccharide. And this complex carbohydrate is furtherly divided into like homopolysaccharides, heteropolysaccharides, starch, dextrine, dietary fiber and the glycogen. Okay, so basically on the root there are two types of carbohydrates, simple and complex. Simple is divided into three types, that is a mono, di and oligosaccharides. The complex carbohydrate is divided into the one, that is a polysaccharide, and polysaccharides is furtherly divided into homopolysaccharides, heteropolysaccharides, dextrine, dietary fibers, glycogen and the starch. So what is the monosaccharides? Mono, that means one. Di, that means two. Oligo is containing 3 to 10, and poly, that means more. Yes, poly, that means so many. Okay, so monosaccharides is having the one sugar unit, and these are the types of monosaccharides like glucose, fructose and galactose. Okay, the disaccharide, the di, that means 2. Okay, so disaccharides is containing 2 sugar unit. Okay, and these all are the types of disaccharides like sucrose, maltose and lactose. Now we will see the oligosaccharides. So oligosaccharide is containing 3 to 10 monosaccharides. So 3 to 10, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this cluster of monosaccharides is known as oligosaccharides. So oligosaccharide is containing 3 to 10 small units of monosaccharides. Polysaccharides, that means it is containing 10 to 20 monosaccharides. Okay, 10 to 20 small clusters of monosaccharides are making one unit, that is known as a polysaccharide. So these all are the types of carbohydrate, and we'll see one by one. So first we'll see about the simple carbohydrate. So they are sugars with a simple structure of one or two single sugar units. Okay, so simple carbohydrate, the word suggests simple. It is simple and sober. It is having the simple structure, not complex, not any severity or not any kind of multi-speciality structure in the simple carbohydrate. It is made up of a single sugar units. Okay, so that's why it is known as a simple carbohydrate, because it is having the simple structure. We can say the simple compositions of the carbohydrate, that is a simple carbohydrate. So in the simple carbohydrate there should be a 1 or 2 sugar units. So this making the simple compositions. If in the compositions, if in the unit of carbohydrate there are a 1 or a 2 sugar unit, that is making the simple structure. So because of that reason it is known as a simple carbohydrate. So the simple carbohydrate, as we have discussed in a previous slide, it is also having the 3 types like monosaccharides, disaccharides and oligosaccharides. So mono, that means 1, di, that means 2, and oligo having 3 to 10 sugar units. So monosaccharide is mono, that means 1, so it is containing only 1 sugar unit. So number of sugar unit is only 1. Disaccharide, the word suggests di, that means 2. So in the disaccharides there is a 2 sugar units are present. And oligosaccharides, in that what happens, 3 to 10 monosaccharides are making 1 oligosaccharides. Okay, so 3 to 10 monosaccharides will make 1 oligosaccharides. Okay, small units of monosaccharides are gathered together and they are making 1 oligosaccharide. So these all are the basic 3 types of simple carbohydrate like monosaccharides, disaccharides and oligosaccharides. So first we'll see about the monosaccharides. So they are building blocks of the carbohydrate. Okay, monosaccharides are made up of a 1 sugar unit. Okay, so one sugar unit are making the further type of carbohydrate. So because of that reason, they are known as the building blocks of carbohydrate. Okay, so as we have discussed, like 1 monosaccharide plus 1 monosaccharide. If there are 2 monosaccharides, it is known as a disaccharide. If there is a 3 to 10 monosaccharide, it is known as oligosaccharides. Okay, so because of that reason, they are building blocks of the carbohydrate. So they are furtherly divided into 2 types. So monosaccharides are also having 2 types, that is aldose and ketose. Okay, so this is the structure of aldose. In the aldose, what happens? The carbon is attached, the endmost carbon atom is attached with the aldehyde groups. Whereas in the ketone, the middle carbon atom is attached with the ketose group. So what happens in the aldose? Aldose is one type of monosaccharide who is having the aldehyde group. It is made up of a aldehyde group. Whereas ketones having the ketose group. Okay, aldehyde having the aldone and ketone having the ketone. Okay, so it is type of a carbonyl group. The carbon, hydrogen and oxygen making the carbohydrate, and it is known as a carbonyl group. So carbonyl group and carbohydrate are attached with each other and they are forming this aldose and ketose. The difference between aldose and ketose is one, that the aldose carbon is the endmost carbon is attached with the aldehyde group, whereas in the ketose the middle carbon atom is attached with the ketone group. So that is about the aldose and the ketose. So here is the difference between aldose and ketose. So here they have mentioned the different characteristics of aldose and ketose, and they have here mentioned aldose and ketose. Okay, so first characteristics is group. So as we have discussed, aldose is one type of monosaccharide which is attached with the aldehyde group. Okay, aldose and aldehyde, you can similar this both the words ALD. Okay, aldose is having the aldehyde group. Okay, whereas in the ketose it is having the ketone group. So you can familiarize these words, ketose. Okay, so these both are a type of monosaccharides and each are having the aldehyde group and ketose having the ketone group. Next is a found. So where it is found, in which source these both monosaccharides are available. So the aldose are primarily available, we can see in a plants. Okay, so in the vegetarian source, in the plants we are seeing the aldose. Okay, and in the ketose, so ketose are found in a processed food. So what is the meaning of processed food? So during the preparation of food, if we are adding anything or if we are making any alteration in that food, that is known as a processed food. So while preservation, while canning of food, while freezing the food, we are adding or we are altering the preparation of food, and that is known as a processed food. So aldose is in a natural form, they are found in a plants. Whereas ketose we are making artificially, and because of that reason it is found in a processed food. Next is isomerization. Okay, what is isomerization? Isomerization, that means changing in a physical structure. If any ion or if any molecules are changed in their physical structure, so that process is known as isomerization. So in the process of isomerization, aldose are converted into the ketose. Whenever we are applying any kind of heat, whenever they are exposure to any cold environment, aldose are converted into the ketose with the help of isomerization process. In the ketose, isomerize into aldose only in the presence of reducing sugar. Okay, so it is very simple. If we are applying more heat, if we are making the food exposure to the extreme cold environment, the isomerization process is taking place. So aldose are converted into the ketose and the ketose are converted into the aldose. So this is the process of isomerization. And isomerization, that means changes in the physical structure of any substance. Next characteristics is salivonous taste color. So this is the chemical taste. It is one type of chemical taste. These tests are generally performed to distinguish or to make a difference between aldose and ketose. Okay, if we want to know that whatever substance, whatever sample is there, that is whether it is aldose or ketose, to differentiate between that both sample, we are performing the chemical taste, and that is known as a salivonous taste. Okay, so in the salivonous taste, what happens? You need to take 5 ml of salivonous reagent solution. You need to take in the test tube 5 ml salivonous agent or solution. Okay, after that you need to add 1 ml of sample. Okay, in the sample, if there is a aldose sample or if there is a ketose sample, you need to add 1 ml of that sample into that test tube with the salivonous solution. Okay, after that you need to make a heat or you need to apply heat for a 30 seconds to that test. Okay, after applying heat for 30 seconds, you need to let it be cool. After cooling, if there is a changes in any color, that may recommend it that it is aldose or it is ketose. Okay, so if the color of that solution become in a light pink color, okay, you are taking the salivonous reagent solution in a test tube. Okay, after that you are adding 1 ml of sample. After that you are applying heat for a 30 seconds, and after that you need to let it be cool. Okay, after that if the color changes in a light pink color, so that is suggesting that the sample is of the aldose. Okay, and if the test tube color or the solution color change into deep cherry red color, so this color suggests that the solution or sample is of the ketose sample. Okay, so that is saliva taste color. And next one is examples. Okay, so the examples of the aldose are glucose, ribose and galactose. Whereas the example of ketose are fructose, erythrolose and the ribulose. Okay, so this is the difference between aldose and ketose. Here they have mentioned the characteristics like group, aldose having the aldehyde group, ketose having ketone group. Aldose are found naturally in a plant, whereas ketones are found in a processed food. We need to make it by an artificial way. Isomerization, aldose are converted into ketones and ketones are converted into the aldose. The saliva taste color, aldose are having the light pink color and the ketones are having the cherry red color. And the examples of the aldose are having glucose, ribose and galactose, and the ketones are having fructose, erythrolose and the ribulose. Now we will see the characteristics of monosaccharides. So as we have discussed, it is made up of a single unit of sugar. Okay, mono that means one and saccharide that means glucose, or we can say sugar. So because of that reason, it is only made up of a one sugar unit, okay, or we can say the one glucose unit. Second is no digestion is required, because it is the structure of monosaccharide is very simple, because it is containing one or two sugar units. So because of that reason, there is a no digestion is taking place in stomach or either in the small intestine. Because it having the small or simple structure, there is a no digestion of monosaccharide. It's been taking place in our stomach and small intestine. It is directly absorbed in a bloodstream. Next, quick absorbed into intestine and then into the bloodstream. So as I have told, there is a no digestion of monosaccharide occur in our body, as it having the simple structure of sugar unit. So because of that reason, directly if you are having any food with the monosaccharide, they directly absorb in your small intestine, and from the small intestine, from the lumen of small intestine, it will enter into the bloodstream with the help of blood capillaries. Okay. Next is, in the liver, they are converted by the enzyme into glycogen for a constant backup energy supply. Okay, so with the help of pancreatic enzyme, so there are two types of enzyme, insulin and glucagon, and this both enzymes are required to convert the glucose in the glycogen. Okay, so in the liver, what happens during whenever you are having the monosaccharide food, what happens? It is containing the sugar unit. Okay, and that is stored in our body in the form of glycogen. So there are two hormones from the pancreas which is helping your body, which is helping glucose to convert into the glycogen, and the name of that enzyme is insulin and glucagon. So these both enzymes are responsible to convert glucose in the glycogen form, and that glycogen is stored in our body, and whenever we require energy, whenever we require any supply of calories, at that time that stored glycogen our body is using to perform any kind of activity. So this is the characteristics of monosaccharides. It is made up of a single unit of sugar, no digestion is required, absorbed into intestine and then after enter into the bloodstream, and it is converted with the help of insulin and glucagon. The glucose is converted into the glycogen. That glycogen is stored in our body, and whenever our body requires energy, that glycogen is providing energy to our body as a backup energy supply. Next is aldose. So this is a type of monosaccharides. Like aldose are having four types: triose, tetrose, pentose and hexose. So you can familiarize with these words: tri, tetro, pento and hexo. Okay, so tri, that means it is having the 3 carbon atoms. Tri, that means 3. Okay, so triose, that means it is containing 3 carbon units. Tetra, which is meaning 4. Okay, tetra, that means 4. So tetrose, that means it is containing 4 carbon atoms. Okay, pentose. Okay, so pentose, that means 5. So because of that reason, it is containing 5 carbon atoms. And hexose, hexa, that means 6. Okay, so hexose is containing 6 carbon atoms. So aldose are having 4 types. Okay, each are differentiate with the number of carbon atoms. Okay, the number of carbon atoms are very necessary to differentiate the types of aldose. So triose, tetrose, pentose and hexose. Triose, that means 3 carbon unit, tetrose, that means 4, pentose containing 5 carbon unit and hexose containing 6 carbon units. So as we have seen in the diagram of classification, monosaccharides are containing 3 types, that is a glucose, fructose and galactose. Okay, so what is a glucose? So glucose is also known as a dextrose. Okay, so whenever any patient is admitted in the hospitals because of loss of fluid or having the imbalanced fluid electrolyte balance in the body, so if there is a lack of glucose in his or her body, in the hospitals we are providing DNS pint to that patient. Okay, the intravenous fluid we are providing, that is a dextrose. Okay, DNS. So DNS fluid containing the glucose, and if you are having the pint or if you are having the intravenous infusion of the DNS, you will get the instant energy. So glucose, it is also known as a dextrose. It's a primary source of energy. So one of the basic source of energy from the carbohydrates, that is glucose. Okay, if you are feeling very tired, having the lightheadedness, you will feel the vertigo, giddiness. So if you are having the glucose rich any products, any biscuits or any energy drink which is containing the glucose, you will get the immediate energy. So because of that reason, it is a very basic, or we can say the primary source of energy. It is found in a fruit such as the grapes and orange. So these both are energy fruits. Okay, if you are having these fruits, you will get immediate, or we can say the instant energy you will get. Okay, so this is found in a fruits like grapes and the orange. So that's all about the glucose. It is what? It is also known as a dextrose. It is one of the primary, or we can say the basic source of energy, and in the fruits it is found in a grapes and oranges. Next one is a fructose. So fructose is the sweetest natural sugar, and it is found in a fruits and honey. Okay, so glucose and this galactose are made artificially. Okay, in the body also it is made, and in the outside of the body artificially also we are able to make this both type of monosaccharide. But the monosaccharide, that name is a fructose, that is one of the natural monosaccharides, or we can say the natural carbohydrate, and that we are finding in a fruits and honey. Okay, so these both are the natural sources of the fructose monosaccharides. It is 1.8 times as sweet as sucrose. Okay, so sucrose is one of the type of disaccharides. So the fructose is more sweeter than the sucrose. So how much time? 1.8 times much sweetener, much sugary than the sucrose. And it is used as a sweetener in a citrus drink. So any soft drinks, there are various kind of soft drinks are available in the market. So in any soft drinks, in any energy drinks, the fructose is used as a sweetener in any beverages. Okay, so it is used as a sweetener in any soft drinks, any citrus juices or any beverages. And third type of monosaccharide, that is a galactose. So galactose does not occur alone in the nature. So galactose is always found in a combination with the other carbohydrate. Okay, it is not found alone like glucose and fructose. They both are alone in the nature. But the galactose is always found with other carbohydrate, other forms of carbohydrate. So the galactose is linked to glucose to make the lactose, like milk sugar. Okay, so galactose and lactose. So lactose is also one type of disaccharide. Lactose is what? It is disaccharide. And this lactose is attached with glucose. And these both are making galactose. Okay, so you can see here the combination of two carbohydrates like lactose and glucose, they both are become combined, they come together and they are making the galactose. So it is not found or it is not occur in alone in the nature, it is linked to glucose to make lactose, and with a combination of glucose and lactose it is known as a galactose. Okay, so these all are the types of monosaccharides, the three most important monosaccharides in the nutrition, that is the glucose, fructose and galactose. So up till now we have discussed about the monosaccharides. We have seen the aldose, ketose, glucose, fructose and galactose. Okay, now it's time to talk about disaccharides. Okay, so disaccharides, that means di and saccharides. Di, that means two, saccharide, that means sugar, or we can say the units of glucose. Okay, so disaccharides, it is made up of two sugar units. Okay, di, that means two. Okay, so disaccharides are made up of two sugar unit. The three disaccharides important in nutrition are sucrose, maltose and lactose. Okay, these three are the most important disaccharides in the nutrition, or we can say in the food. That is what? Sucrose, maltose and lactose. So what is a sucrose? Sucrose, this is made up of two sugar units which are glucose and fructose. Okay, so glucose and fructose is making what? Sucrose. So glucose is one sugar unit, fructose is also one unit. So 1 by 1, 1 plus 1 is equal to what? 2. Okay, so total 2 sugar units is having the making the sucrose. Sucrose is made up of 1 unit of glucose and 1 unit of fructose. It is made up of 2 sugar units. Okay, 2 sugar units, 1 unit from the glucose, 1 from the fructose, and they both are combined and making the sucrose. They are excreted from the sugar cane and sugar beets. So from where we are getting this sucrose? From the sugar cane and sugar beets. Okay, from sugar cane we are getting the sugar, we are having the jaggery. Okay, if we are having the any products made up of a sugar cane or sugar beet, we are getting the carbohydrate, and the name of the carbohydrate is sucrose. Sucrose is the chemical name for the granulated sugar, table sugar or refined sugar. So for any sugar, as I have told you, from the sugar cane we are making the sugars. Okay, so there are several types of sugar, like table sugar is there, granulated sugar is there, brown sugar, refined sugar. So sucrose is synonyms of the different types of sugar, like sucrose is a chemical name of a granulated sugar, table sugar and the refined sugar. Okay, so that's all about the sucrose. Sucrose is one type of disaccharide. It is made up of a glucose plus fructose, and it is found in a sugar cane and sugar beets. Next disaccharide, that is a maltose. So maltose consists of a two malts, that is glucose unit. Okay, malt, that means what? Glucose unit. So one unit of glucose and second unit of glucose are making maltose. Okay, and this, the two sugar units or two units of glucose is known as malt. Okay, so maltose is consist of a two malts. Okay, two malts is what? One is one glucose unit and second glucose unit. So these are come together and they are making the maltose. It occurs in a germinating grains and also in the commercial production of a malt, and malt is also known as a beer. Okay, so for the production of beer we are adding the maltose, or we can say the malt sugar. Okay, so in any alcoholic drinks we are adding the sweetener, that is the maltose. So especially in the production of beer we are adding the sugar, and the name of that sugar is maltose. Okay, and maltose we are getting from germinating grains. Okay, whenever the grains are germinating, whenever the grains are having the sprouts in nature, sprouting, so during that time whatever things are we are getting, that is maltose. Maltose used as a sweeteners in various processed food. Okay. So to make processed food, as I have discussed, like processed food is what? So during the time of food preparation, if we are making any alteration in the food, if we are adding any preservatives, if we are having the freezing method, if we are doing the canning method of food, so during the time of preparation, if we are making any alteration in the food, that is known as a processed food. Okay, so in any processed food, maltose is added as a sweetener, like candies, chewing gums and the beverages. That means any soft drinks, any fruit juices or any drinking beverages are having the sweet type of taste, that is because of maltose. Okay, so maltose is there in all the processed food, in a chocolates, in chewing gums, in a candies, okay, and in the beverages also. Next is the lactose. So what is the lactose? Made up of a two sugar unit, that is a glucose and galactose. Okay, so lactose is equal to glucose plus galactose. Glucose is also made up of a one sugar unit, galactose is also made up of one sugar unit, and that is making two sugar unit, and that is known as a lactose. Okay, glucose and galactose are combined, they are making two sugar unit, and that is known as a lactose. So lactose found naturally only in the milk and in some milk product like cheese and cream. Okay, so specially this lactose we are finding in a milk and all other milk products like cheese and cream. Milk when fermented gives lactic acid, which is used in a setting curd and cheese. So if you are adding a small amount of buttermilk or curd in the bowl of milk, then what happens? The fermentation process is taking place in the milk. Okay, so because of the lactic acid, what happens? The milk is converted into the curd. Okay, so fermentation process is taking place because of the lactic acid, because the lactobacillus bacteria present in the curd or buttermilk, that is changing the structure or the composition of milk. The milk is in a liquid form and it is making the solid form in the curd. Okay, so wherever we are making fermentation process in milk, lactic acid is provided and it is setting the milk into the curd. And this is the last type of a simple carbohydrate, that is a oligosaccharides. Okay, oligosaccharide, that means it contains 3 to 10 monosaccharide units. Okay, so monosaccharide unit which is having 3 to 10, and like this they are making one oligosaccharides. Okay, so whenever small units of monosaccharides like 3 to 10 small units of monosaccharides are coming together, they are clustered together and they are making one unit, and that is known as oligosaccharides, formed during breakdown of the starch. Okay, so starch is one type of polysaccharides. Okay, and polysaccharide, that means it is having 10 to 20 monosaccharides. Okay, so if we are making breakdown, suppose this is a chain of polysaccharides, and if we are making breakdown in that chain, okay, so this small unit is known as oligosaccharides. Okay, polysaccharide, that means it is a long chain. Okay, and we are making breakdown in that chain. Okay, starch is one of the type of polysaccharide. If the big chain is break down into the small unit, they are making one unit of oligosaccharides. Okay, so we are forming the oligosaccharides while we are making breakdown of the dextrine, or we can say the starch, which is one of the type of polysaccharides. So that's all about the simple carbohydrate. Okay, we have discussed about the monosaccharides, disaccharides and the oligosaccharides. Now we will talk about the complex carbohydrate. Okay, we have completed simple carbohydrate. Now it's time to talk about complex carbohydrate. So complex carbohydrate is having the one type, that is the polysaccharides. And what is polysaccharides? It is containing 10 to 20 monosaccharide units. Okay, same as oligosaccharides, but the number of monosaccharides units are less in oligosaccharides. But in the polysaccharide, what happens? There are several monosaccharide units. In the oligosaccharides, there are only 3 to 10 monosaccharide units. Okay, in the poly that means so many. Okay, so in the polysaccharides, there are 10 to 20 monosaccharides units. So 10 to 20 monosaccharides units are coming together. They are making cluster like formation, and that unit, that cluster is known as a polysaccharides. So polysaccharides having the types like homopolysaccharides and heteropolysaccharides. Okay, so what is a homopolysaccharides? Homopolysaccharides have only one type of monosaccharide units in the chain. Okay, so in the homopolysaccharides, only one type of monosaccharides are there. Suppose we can take example of glucose. So this chain, like this is the chain of homopolysaccharides. So everyone that is a glucose unit. Okay, the chain is made up of only one type of monosaccharide. Glucose is what? Glucose is a type of monosaccharide. Okay, so in a homopolysaccharide, there are only one type of monosaccharides. Either it will be made up of a glucose monosaccharides, or either it will be made up of a fructose, but only one monosaccharide should be there in homopolysaccharides. When it's come to the heteropolysaccharides, so it is composed of a two or more types of monosaccharides. Okay, so suppose this is a chain of polysaccharides. Okay, so it is made up of a glucose, fructose, glucose, okay, galactose, glucose, fructose. Okay, so you can see there are different types of monosaccharides are made in a chain, and that is making heteropolysaccharides. Okay, it is made up of a glucose, fructose, galactose. So there are more than two types of monosaccharides are there in a heteropolysaccharides. Okay, polysaccharide, that means 10 to 20 monosaccharide units. Homopolysaccharide containing only one type of monosaccharides. Heteropolysaccharide containing more than one, that is two or more monosaccharides. Next is starch. So starch are plants polysaccharides. So where we are finding the starch? Starch is in the vegetables, or we can say in the fruits. That means in short, it is found in a plants. It is found in a vegetarian source. It is composed of a glucose. So many glucose are making starch. Okay, a number of glucose units are making the starch. The sources of starch include grains, legumes and tubers. Okay, so these all are the sources or dietary sources of starch. Moreover, it is also we are getting from breads, rice, potatoes. So potatoes is one of the richest source of starch. We are getting it from a cereals like beans, chestnuts and from the pasta. So any food having the grains like wheat, rice, jowar, okay, so from that all are the sources we are getting maximum amount of starch. And these potatoes and sweet potatoes are named as richest source of starch. Next is the dextrine. Next type of complex carbohydrate is the dextrine. So when starch is break down into smaller unit, it is formed dextrine. So whenever this is a chain of starch, and if we are making breakdown of that chain, okay, and that portion which is coming in a small amount, a small structure, that is dextrine. Okay, whenever we are break down the chain of starch, whatever portion we are getting, that is known as a dextrine. And because it is the small portion or the small amount, it is easily digested. With the comparison of starch, starch is taking place in the digestion process. It will take more time whereas dextrin is having the small structure because it is breakdown of the starch, so it is easily digested in the stomach as well as in the small intestine. And moreover, this dextrin is used specially in the infant's food. Okay, so infant powder milk or milk powders are having this dextrin in that. So dextrin are specially used in a infant food. Next is dietary fiber. Okay, so dietary fiber is found in a plants. So same like a starch, it is having the vegetarian source. So we are getting dietary fibers from plants, especially from the vegetables and the fruits. Okay, so major portion of dietary fibers we are getting from the vegetarian source. So there are two types of fibers in our body, or we can say from the food we are getting two types of dietary fiber. One that is a soluble fiber and another one that is insoluble fibers. So what is a soluble fiber? Soluble fibers are easily soluble or easily dissolved in our body, whereas insoluble fibers are not able to dissolve, not able to absorb in the body. So because of that reason they are excreted with the help of rectum and anus via feces or stool. Okay, soluble, the word suggests it is a soluble, it is a dissolvable in our body. Insoluble, the word suggests it is not able to soluble, it is not able to dissolve in our body. So because of that reason it is remain in a natural form in our digestive tract, and with the help of rectum and anus we are eliminating the insoluble dietary fiber from our body with the help of stool or feces. So we will see the example of soluble fiber first. So pectin and gums are soluble in the water. So pectin and gums are the types of dietary fiber which are easily soluble in our body, especially in the fluid or a liquid stream, that is water, or we can say the fluid which is retained in our body. Next is the insoluble fiber, that is a cellulose and hemicellulose which is insoluble fibers. Okay. Fiber cannot be digested by the body, hence it is eliminated in the stool or feces. So especially this insoluble fibers, the word suggests insoluble, that means it is not able to dissolve in our body. So because of that reason it is eliminated via stool or feces from our body. And these dietary fibers are providing bulk to the stool and the feces. So because of the fiber it is easily able to eliminate the portion of the waste product from our body. Next is a glycogen. So it is animal polysaccharides. So glycogen is we are getting from the animal source. It is one of the animal polysaccharides. It is composed of glucose. So several units of glucose are making one chain of glycogen. The glycogen are manufactured and stored in the liver and the muscles. Okay, so as we have discussed, the excessive amount of glucose is converted into the glycogen. Okay, with the help of insulin, with the help of glucagon which is secreted from the pancreas. So these both enzymes are converting glucose into the glycogen, and that excessive glycogen is stored in the liver and the muscles. Okay, and whenever our body require energy, when there is a deficiency of energy in our body, at that time glycogen is converted repeatedly into the glucose, and that glucose is providing energy to our body for normal functioning. Form of storage. Okay, so glycogen is stored in the form of glucose. Okay, glycogen which is converted, that is stored in the form of glucose in our body, and that is providing constant supply of energy to our body. So that's all about the simple and complex carbohydrate. Simple are having three types, that is the monosaccharides, disaccharides and oligosaccharides, whereas the complex carbohydrate having the polysaccharides, and it is furtherly divided into homopolysaccharides, heteropolysaccharides, dietary fibers, dextrin, starch and glycogen. Next we will see about the dietary sources of carbohydrates.